I've written a couple of tunes, not for James Bond, but I wrote a couple of tunes down the years and thought, oh, that'd be a great Bond theme tune. And said to somebody, send that to James Bond. and sadly never heard anything back. So.
Good morning, Noel Gallagher.
Thank you very much.
How was the traffic for you this morning on the way?
It was all right. It just clears for me. I had 2 police outriders with wings, so I was all right.
No, you famously or infamously don't drive.
I've never had a driving licence.
Have you ever had to go just for a laugh?
I've had a go, yeah.
Tell us about
Yeah, it's just I'm just not cut out for it. I was cut out to be chauffeured. That was my thing.
Is that why you had to become a rock star?
Well, no, I'm not from a family of great drivers. My dad was a driver, and he might have invented road rage. And I remember sitting in the back of cars thinking, this doesn't seem like it's a lot of fun. Do you know what I mean? But I've kind of, even when I'm in a taxi and I'm driving around London, I feel like getting out sometimes and cracking people on the head.
And when was the last time you played the guitar?
Last night.
Okay, what did you play and where and why?
I'm in the studio at the minute putting the finishing touches to this next EP that's coming out. And one of the extra tracks I was making up in the studio the other day, and I was listening back to it last night thinking, actually, it needs a bit more guitar. So I was what we call in the game noodling while watching the telly,
Right.
while Sarah was sat on the couch kind of going, really? And I'm like, just give us 10 minutes. It's like, really? Spend all day in the studio and then come home and spend all night playing the guitar. So that's when.
So you're bringing your work home. Is the studio
always.
in your house?
No. I'm just building a studio now in King's Cross. No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't be allowed one in the house.
Right, that's interesting. Okay, building a studio in King's Cross.
I had a studio in the house in the 90s, and I never did anything.
Right.
Because there was always an excuse not to go there. Whereas I think if you have to get on the tube and go to a studio, you're more liable to kind of. It's like going to the gym. Once you got the gear on, you might as well go, right? If you're not, to me, the gym is not a struggle. It's putting the shorts on. That's the struggle. I played the guitar for just at home, like as a hobby kind of thing. And then but I always felt that my destiny was in the music business somehow. And then I got a job as a roadie completely by chance. And I thought, oh, this is it then. And I loved it. And I did that for like 3 or 4 years, and it was great. And I was just thinking, well, this will do me. You know, I'm traveling the world, getting paid.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. You know, and then I remember calling home one afternoon and saying to Mum, how's Liam? And she said, oh, he's rehearsing. I was like, what? Clearly not Shakespeare. And she said, no, isn't he in a band? And I was like, a band? And then we went to see this band when I got back off tour, and they were all right. And then they asked me to manage them, and I was like, you're asking the wrong person to manage you, but I can play the guitar. And they asked me to come down and jam with them, and they were impressed enough to beg me to join. And the rest is history.
Well, it is and it isn't. So you could play the guitar. Had you written a song at that point?
For my own amusement, yeah. Yeah, for my nothing of any great significance.
Okay, what might that have been, that song?
It might have been about a girl with a ponytail.
Okay, and do you remember the song?
Well, we're not going to do it now.
By the way,
I do remember writing a song about a girl with a ponytail.
Right.
But the first song that I wrote when I thought, right, this is it, was a couple of years before it came out. I wrote Live Forever one night and took it down to the rehearsal room the next day and said to the lads, you play that and you join in here. And I knew as soon as I heard it that I knew enough about music, and I bought enough music magazines and owned enough records to think that's a great song. And it was so good that Boner to this day still thinks that I didn't write it. Still to this day he'll say, you never wrote that.
So you talk about Live Forever, right? Did it arrive fully formed?
All the best ones just fall out the
sky. What's that about?
Well, I think that those songs always exist somewhere, and this is why I play the guitar and noodle around every chance I can get, because they're there. And some songs you have to work at. He'll tell you this. You've got to work at and chip away, and you do a bit, and then you come back to it and you do a bit. And they might end up great. They're usually quite good. But the great ones, you'd be just playing one afternoon and bang, it'll just appear.
Have you ever contemplated a Bond theme?
I've never been asked, but I've written a couple of tunes, not for James Bond, but I wrote a couple of tunes down the years and thought, oh, that'd be a great Bond theme tune. and said to somebody, "Send that to James Bond." and sadly never heard anything back. So,
No, explain how a tour is booked.
well, somebody calls. So this is agents and promoters, and somebody will say to me, "I'm going to simplify this." Manager will say, "So he's doing some gigs," and I'll go, "Yeah." And he'll call a guy and he says, "He fancies doing some gigs," and he'll say, "Right, give us 10 minutes." And he'll call another guy and he'll say, "He fancies doing some gigs," and he'll say, "Right, give us half an hour." Then he'll call that guy back, who then calls the other guy back. He'll say, "Well, the tour's been booked, so it's in March, and well done,"
And so what happens is a promoter guarantees
a promoter will
lump
say,
of dough.
a promoter says, as I understand it, a promoter says, you're playing here at Wembley Arena tonight. I'm going to pay you 750 grand
Regardless.
as an advance, right? And then anything over that, when I get my money back, you split the profits.
Right.
That's as I understand it. But in this day and age, there's never a great deal of money left over at the end.
And that's the thing about music, isn't it? It is forever green. The best songs are forever green.
Yeah, they never date. And like Don't Look Back in Anger, for instance, it's a song that's still growing. It's insane. It's an insane, without being an extraordinary piece of music. It's an extraordinary song.
Tell us about the fact that you. Why do you? By the way, I agree. But why do you think it's extraordinary?
Well, because I'm doing gigs, and you play the first couple of chords and look up, and everyone's on everyone's shoulders, topless, and there's a load of guys crying, and you're thinking, you were about 6 when we broke up, right? Far less, at the time. So it's just gone on through 3-4 generations. It's an extraordinary song. What I always try to do as a songwriter is not make a song too personal and not make it tied to any particular time, like a political thought or anything. I always try and find the universal truth in it. And I think that's why Oasis songs still mean as much, because they're coming from a place of universal truth. So you didn't have to be around in the 90s or be, be unemployed or anything.
Yeah.
It still means something to you now. There's a lot of them about the weather.
Well,
which is a tip there for anybody.
There's always the weather.
It's a song, if you mention the rain, it goes on for ages.
But when you play a song like that, do you play it or does it play you?
Um,
Does it feel like your song?
No. It feels, particularly that song, it's not belonged to me for quite a while now. It's gone through different phases. Sometimes it's attached to tragedy and all that. But no, you've only got. I never listen to it at home. I mean, if it comes on the radio, I'll kind of listen to it. But you play the first note, and then something else takes over. And I've done gigs. I did a gig once at Wembley Stadium, and I did it acoustically. And I didn't sing a single word of it, not even the chorus, just the entire crowd sang it, like 80,000 people. And at that point, you're thinking, this is just ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Why am I bothering? Like send a cardboard cutout with some kind of, like one of those cards when you open them at Christmas, it sings a song. Just do that.
No, what's the most you've ever heard of an Oasis, High Flying Birds or Noel Gallagher ticket going for on the black market?
Thousands.
Really?
Yeah. Oasis stuff, yeah. Mine
Where
are currently still available.
where might that have been? Would that be Nebworth or somewhere like that? Or?
I can't think of a specific thing, but it's one of the moments when in your evolution as a band is when somebody will come in and say, selling tickets outside for 50 quid. Just like, no way, you know what I mean? It was like, no way would someone pay 50 quid to see us. And then it's like one of those moments, like, no way, people are buying tickets and selling them as well. But I think when we used to do the stadiums, it was like thousands.
Yeah.
Because they were just all sold out within like 5 minutes. If you're involved in a band dynamic, it's different. You're made to second guess yourself. You might not like something, but everybody else might like it.
Yeah.
But I'm the worst for self-criticism.
You listen to
in fact, actually, I'm not. My wife is the worst. My wife,
you
or
of herself?
Yeah,
but that's not self-criticism.
Yeah. No, well,
that's being married. It's called being married, no.
Yeah. It's when I play her a tune, she's like, "Aww."
You're having an off day.
No, she'll say, "Did you write that?" Like I'm 11. I'm like, yes, I did.
Okay, when was the first time you realised you might be all right for the mortgage?
I was living in a basement flat in Camden, and definitely maybe had been out, and we were just starting the Morning Glory cycle. We went from that Definitely Maybe big world tour straight into the studio to do Morning Glory. We recorded that, and I remember sitting in the basement flat, and somebody from my office phoned me twice in one day to say they'd put £1 million in the bank.
Ooh. What, so £2 million?
Yeah, it was twice in one day.
What, from not much at all?
From just like being paid wages and all that, and then I remember it being royalties coming and the publishing, and I was like, I've often wondered what publishing was. You know,
Well, you just found out.
yeah, I just found out,
Okay.
and that was a great day, and I was kind of like saying to somebody, go to the shop, go to the shop. How much? No way, really? And what is that? Right, so that's all mine. Seriously? Hang on a sec. Go to the shop, get 2 bottles of Prosecco.
Might actually make it 4.
There are moments in a songwriter's life, they come and go. Like at the moment, I feel like I'm in a real purple patch of being creative. But there'll be months where you go by where it's just not happening, and you're kind of forcing it and struggling. And at those points, it's best just to down tools and go on holiday.
Okay.
And not chase it.
And is there a plan for you? Is there a 5 or a 10-year thing, or you just?
I like to. I know when this tour finishes, I'm building a recording studio at the minute, which I've got a meeting there this afternoon to see how it's going on. So next year, I'll be in the studio. I won't tour for maybe a year or two. So there's not a 5-year plan. There'll be a 2-year plan. So we'll make an album. The next thing I do after this year of EPs will be an album, and it'll be in my new studio. And then inevitably you'll go back out on tour. You know?
Okay. Now we had your brother in a week and a bit ago. I won't ask you about him, but I will ask you a question that I meant to ask him and I forgot to ask him.
Go on.
And I was going over thinking, I wish I'd have asked him that question. And it was about your mum, right?
Oh yeah.
So this ongoing thing, whatever it is, and whatever, right? What does your mum think about all that?
Well, as I said to her recently, we're not 19 anymore. So I'm in my 50s. He's nearly 50.
Right.
So why don't you just go make a cup of tea?
Does she have a word, though? Does she have a word?
No, but you know what Irish mums are like? They'll kind of furiously not take sides. And if they can, pretend it's not happening.
Right.
You know, so we don't talk about it. I don't talk about it to my mum. When I go see my mum, I'm always like, I can't, but, you know, you're always kind of, but what do you mean what do you mean you fell over? What are you talking about? You know, and just sort of, I don't see her that often, you know what I mean? When I'm up in Manchester, you just catch up. Not really, can't be bringing it down talking about the other fella.
No. I didn't want to talk about him. I just wanted to talk about your mum.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and her situation in
my mum will take off her glasses and put them down and go, how are you, Noreen? How are you? And I'm like, I'm good, Mum. How are you? Oh, it's lovely to see you. Well, I know. We don't talk about it.
Good. All right. No, joy to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very welcome.
Very
Thanks for being here. Thanks for holding the fort, my friend. Thanks for holding the fort.
Well, it's a good job I'm here. What would you do without me?
Okay, thanks.